think it's fair to say Donny van de Beek hasn't had the best time so far at Manchester United, but with Erik ten Hag joining him at Manchester United, is it time for a second chance for this man right here? We're going to look at exactly how Donny van de Beek can fit under ten Hag this season and whether he can be still a success at Manchester United. Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe, that is Alex Bagley. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate.
We're talking about Donny van de Beek today.
Yeah, I mean, Donny van de Beek is every single person response of who needs to come on at half time, who changes United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It was always Donny van de Beek. Instead of McTominay, instead of Fred, Bruno. I think he probably got asked to play centre forward at times. Whatever. He was the answer to everyone's problems at Manchester United. It didn't really work out whilst Ole was at the club and whilst Rangnick essentially loaned him out.
It wasn't the answer, was it? Because he barely played, he got loaned out to Everton, so we're going to have a look at basically what he's got left at Manchester United. Erik ten Hag has come in, the man basically who was the manager that made Donny van de Beek the name he is today, the fact that he was on that Ballon d'Or shortlist, the fact that he was linked with Real Madrid and Manchester United. Ten Hag was responsible for a lot of that, as well as obviously a lot of talent from Donny van de Beek. Let's just go through the history of Donny van de Beek and exactly how he can fit in back at Manchester United, because if there's ever a chance for him to revitalise his career at United, getting the manager that put him on the map in the first place is the only real way to do it, let's be honest. So just as a little bit of background on Donny van de Beek, he played under Ten Hag between 2017 and 2020 at Ajax, and during his time there they won one Eredivisie, the Cup and the Johan Cruyff Shield. They also got to the Europa League final in 2017, which obviously United played in that game, and the Champions League semi-final in 2019. So alongside that Champions League semi-final and numerous cups, he played 175 appearances for Ajax. He's also considered a very versatile player. This is kind of thing we know about Donny van de Beek already. Is he a 6? Is he an 8? Is he a 10? I'm sort of sick of it, because for United he wasn't any of those things, was he? Let's be honest.
No, he wasn't any of those things. Like I mentioned before, people were saying he's a replacement for McTominay and Fred, but I don't think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralph Rangnick saw him at all in those positions and saw him further forward, and probably the rotation for Bruno, whereas Erik ten Hag played him as an attacking midfielder a lot, played him as a number 6, especially after Frankie de Jong left, which we'll get into a little bit later. So the versatility of Donny van de Beek and kind of the defensive aspects, but also getting amongst it, getting goals, getting assists, being a traditional number 10s in terms of numbers, in terms of trying things and trying to create chances, which he just hasn't done at Manchester United.
Like I said, we'll get to that in a little bit, but let's go back to those Ajax days, back to his sort of heyday. And again, let's get a picture up on the screen here, talking about Erik ten Hag's kind of link up with Van de Beek and exactly what he instructs him to do or has instructed him to do in the past. And we talked about this in a previous video about creating multiple number 10s, and in the past, we were talking about the width of the team and all these sorts of things that Ajax implement. But a huge thing is that versatility. So is he a 10? Is he an 8? Is he a 6? Well, he can be all three, and he can do different things at different times within a certain game. You see here the ball. I think it's Tagliafico here on the right hand side. Donny van de Beek makes this running behind past, I think it's Ziyech who comes out and pulls their player out to the right hand side. This gap here and this running behind frees up so much space there. Now they've got a 3-on-2 with the PSV defenders. He squares the ball gets tapped into the back of the net. But this running behind is the sort of thing that Ten Hag instructs his players to do over and over and over again. So obviously it's something that Donny is very good at, but this is where I'm thinking Ten Hag and Donny back together again. I don't think he was instructed to do this at Manchester United because that's what Bruno did instead, or that's basically what no one did. We weren't making those runs in behind. Things was too static, certainly this season. These sorts of runs and this sort of instruction will hopefully put Donny back on the map, won't it?
Yeah, and that's it. It's this said the multiple number 10s at Manchester United. We were very rigid. You had the wingers that a lot of the times were our other forwards essentially more than number 10s, and then you only really had Bruno Fernandes, and like you mentioned, he was almost a second striker. He wasn't someone dropping in and getting involved all the time. And your number 6s, your Fred and McTominay that people criticise so much, they were asked to stay deep. They weren't asked to go and venture into the box. They were asked to kind of hold the shape, which they didn't do very well a lot of the time. Donny van de Beek here, playing in the position as a number 10 or a number 8 kind of in this position, but getting forward, getting involved, And that's something that United's midfielders need to be doing more often next season.
Yeah, and he's going to be forced to do that at Manchester United. I think that's the thing that Ten Hag has already said. He's obsessed with off-the-ball runs. And if he knows Donny can do it for him, why wouldn't he use him? Maybe there'll be questions about physicality and that sort of thing in the Premier League, but if you've got a player that you know can do a job, why wouldn't you let them do that job? I think, the fact that we're linked with De Jong, the fact that all managers tend to bring players from their previous clubs, he's basically got a free shot at that. He's already got a player from his previous club without having to spend any transfer money. I think he'll be loving the fact that Donny's, already in the squad.
Yeah, I agree. And also the players he had at Ajax, the likes of Tadic, Ziyech, they kind of more fit you could play Jadon Sancho in those positions.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes will be playing more. You couldn't have a team with Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho and Donny van der Beek in the old system how we played. Whereas now I think it's going to be encouraged. I think you can see more of it. They're not going to be left, Bruno was playing left wing for a couple of games under Rangnick at the end. It's not going to be in a position like that, but like he said, those multiple number 10s, allowing his midfielders to get involved and get forward. I think you're going to see more of that with Donny van der Beek and Erik ten Hag.
And it's interesting with Donny because, I'll be honest, I've been someone that's criticised him over the last couple of years that, a lot of people call for him to play every week or to come on off the bench all the time or to be the sort of saviour of Manchester United. And I don't think he's been, able to do that. I don't think, it's necessarily his fault, but I think with a mixture of sort of Solskjaer and Rangnick's tactics, I don't think they would have worked for Donny. We saw that under Solskjaer, it just didn't seem to pan out for him. One of the big things with Ten Hag is creating flexibility within structure. So we spoke about it before, this guy here, Tadic on the left-hand side, holding this width, holding what's called the minimum width for Ajax, which is the way of stretching the game, stressing out the opponent, making themselves space. You see as the game moves on slightly, the ball gets played down the right-hand side and gets cut in. The run that Donny makes here, again, when you talk about stressing out an opponent, this is how you do it. He runs into the box, makes 2 or 3 adjustments to his run, and ends up basically being an open pass if he wants it. And there's also Tadic there as well with that second option as well. I don't think he was allowed to do that under Solskjaer. No. We'll see some stats in a minute that basically showed he was being played further back. He was often played as one of 2 number 6s. This sort of movement may well come back into the fore with Ten Hag without that sort of, such structure that Solskjaer used to implement. Do you think he's going to get a chance to do this at United? Because that's the question. We know he can do it. Will he get the chance to do it?
I think he will do. I think the big question, though, is whether, like we've said, we've got Frankie de Jong in this picture, you've got Donny van der Beek. Is that third person of Bruno Fernandes, or is that someone else? And if that's Bruno, is that the one that's going to be making the runs? Is Donny going to have to make a different role? But as you saw in the first image, them all dragging over, them all luring the defence over, and technically stressing the opponent out, wanting the ball and stuff like that, that can create more chances, and then you make those off-the-ball runs. And I like the fact that, it wasn't a defensive midfielder that was the one covering as well. There was a left-back over and all that kind of stuff. Those are the structural changes that allow you to have a Donny van der Beek, a Frankie de Jong, and the Bruno or whatever in your team in order to create these chances and to allow players like Donny van der Beek to make those runs into the box.
Donny's unfortunate that he's just not quite as good as Bruno. Like, he can't score as many goals, he can't get as many assists, he doesn't take risks as well as Bruno does, he just doesn't have the output that Bruno does, and therefore he's always going to struggle. One place I do see him having the advantage is his discipline, his ability to follow instructions. Obviously, I don't know what's been said to Bruno Fernandes before games, but I think oofing the ball in the air as hard as you can, or just sprinting after the play, no matter what, like we saw the Atletico Madrid game away, he just looks like he lacks discipline, and sometimes his head just goes, and all of a sudden he's 60 yards away from where you think he should be. If Donny van der Beek can hold his position, can work within the system that Ten Hag gives him, I think that's the only real way he could have that sort of, plus over Bruno Fernandes, because he does have that problem that Bruno is just so good otherwise.
Yeah, Bruno is, people call him a stat padder, which you just, I don't get how you can
sense.
say.
You can't stat pad in football.
No, you can't stat pad in football.
It doesn't make sense.
What Bruno has is a ridiculous output in terms of, he is a very good crosser of the ball, he is a very good goal scorer himself. Donny van der Beek doesn't have that natural knack of scoring goals like Bruno Fernandes does. But like you mentioned there, he does hold the position a little bit better. He does that. He obviously worked in this system before. It's yet to see whether Bruno Fernandes will fit into these systems and work in that. Bruno Fernandes is a fantastic footballer, but he hasn't maybe been limited in his career to these kind of systems and whether he's going to need to do that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer played him with a lot of freedom. You saw in his first few games for Manchester United, I think it was the Wolves game, he played him in that double pivot and kind of had him a lot deeper. You didn't see the best of Bruno Fernandes. as he got further forward, as he was allowed to score goals and have that free reign, we got the output from Bruno Fernandes. It's whether Ten Hag wants that freedom for his number 10, or whether he wants that, or whether he wants someone like Donny van de Beek to do that, kind of holding that position like you said. Or the answer is, both of them doing something where you give the freedom to Bruno Fernandes and let Donny van de Beek maybe do the run-in or the kind of holding that position.
Interesting. So we've had a look at how he plays at Ajax. Let's have a look at some of this actual output from that style of play. You can see the last 3 seasons he had at Ajax here, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19 and 20. 34 appearances, 11 goals, 6 assists, 2.1 shots per game and an 82% pass success rate. Again, 34, 9 and 10, 23, 8 and 5. So you're looking at more than double digits combined goals and assists every season for the past 3 seasons at Ajax. If you then bring the United stats in there as well, you can see the sort of 2 full seasons he's had. We've separated that second season into 2 halves, one at United, one at Everton. 19 appearances, just 1 goal, 1 assist, 0.1 shots per game. Compare that to 2.1, 1.5 and 1.9 at Ajax. Basically, you've cut his shots per game down by 10 times. Like, his output is so different at Manchester United. I mean, slightly improved here at Everton in the shots per game, but even so, the output and the goals and the assists just aren't there in comparison, are they?
Yeah, and they're not. And whether that could be a couple of things. The first thing is the amount of games he's played. You see the amount of games he played at Ajax compared to coming to United and Everton. He had the injury problems at Everton, which kind of hampered him. But also, maybe it was a little bit of a change of system. Especially these first 2 seasons, he plays that number 10. He had Frenkie de Jong behind him for most of the season. And you see here, lots of shots per game. Pass accuracy, good, but not as good as he was at Manchester United in 86.1. That was maybe because he was asked to play a little bit deeper and was either maybe that was a system thing, but also maybe he was just asked to keep the ball more. We mentioned Bruno Fernandes before, who people have mentioned that he, gives the ball away a lot and things like that. And you can't have 2 players in the system doing that. You can only really have 1. So maybe there was a system change from one to the other that meant that Donny van de Beek's been asked, you've got to keep the ball in this position if you're going to be in this team alongside Bruno Fernandes. Whether this changes next season, is he going to be given the freedom that he might have been given at Ajax, where he can get the shots off, maybe take a few more risks with his passes? Because at Manchester United, whether he fit perfectly into the system or not, he didn't get the output whatsoever and just didn't get the run in the team. Maybe because he just wasn't performing as the managers wanted him to. And
you said there, like the pass success. You look at 86, well, that's higher than 82, that's higher than these numbers at Ajax. But that doesn't necessarily mean better. It just means taking less risks, or often it means taking less risks. Obviously, if you're a bad player, you might take no risks and still only have a 70% pass accuracy. But with a player like Donny, the fact that he's got an 86% pass success isn't because he's all of a sudden better than he was. It's because he's taking less risks than he was, which again is probably due to that slightly, deeper role that he was playing. He wasn't allowed to take the risk that Bruno was, as you said. That's my only worry with him is he ever going to be given that role again? Are you ever going to say, sorry, Bruno, Donny's the man? Because I just think 30 goals he got for Sporting? He got 28 goals and like 15 assists for United the season before last. You just can't argue with those numbers. No. That's my only worry for Donny van de Beek is, yes, he plays the system, yes, he knows the manager, yes, he can do what the manager asks him to do. But I just worry that Bruno can do it better.
I agree with you completely, Joe. I think that'll be the question that Erik Ten Hag asks as soon as he gets in at Manchester United. Yeah. Is it going to be Bruno or Donny, or is it going to be the 2 of them together? And the question, it will be, there's the question people are asking is, does Solskjaer just not like him? Does Rangnick just not like him? That's not going to be the case under Erik Ten Hag. He's shown he likes him.
Going to be funny
He's played him loads.
Doesn't play him, and then everyone on Twitter has to go, oh, maybe it wasn't Solskjaer that ruined his career. Maybe he just wasn't quite good enough. I mean, who knows? But wouldn't it be funny if Donny's going to be sat on the bench? Remember how Van Persie was when Van Gaal came in? Like, this is my guy right here. I know what's coming. I'm going to play for it. What do you mean I'm on the bench? Yeah. What do you mean I'm with the under-23s? I hope for Donny's sake he does get a chance.
I hope for Manchester United's sake they figure it out we get the best out of Donny, or we move him on, or whatever happens. I think this is the thing that people kind of think that when we say, I don't think Donny van de Beek is good enough, they think that we don't want Donny van de Beek to succeed at Manchester United or anything. If he plays more games and scores more goals and we win more games of football, whether it's him, Bruno, Pogba, whoever plays in that position, that's what we want from Manchester United. And I'm hoping that he gets back to these kind of numbers wherever he plays at Manchester United next season and does the job for United.
I think there's a bit of a promising sign here. Look at these shots per game at Everton. It is still nowhere near what he was doing at Ajax, but it's more than double any season at United.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a little picture of the goal he scored against Arsenal. It does just show, this run here that he's making into the box, those late runs that he's very good at. He's maybe being allowed to do that a bit more at Everton, where the emphasis was on his output and creativity rather than his sort of deep build-up play. You see here, they play the game forward a little bit, and he's there for the tap-in. Pretty much unmarked because of the timing of that run.
Yep.
If we can see more of that, I think there's a good chance he's a success next season at United.
Absolutely, yeah.
So finally then, Ten Hag comes to Manchester United, has spoken already about Donny van der Beek. He's been asked about it from basically minute one. He said, we had a fantastic squad at the time at Ajax. I had a really good relationship with him. Of course, I'm looking forward to meeting him again on the pitch. It's not exactly, he said he's going to be my best player by any means, but he's obviously in his plans. We hear rumours of Pellistri and Pereira and all these people being given a chance at United. Surely Van der Beek's going to be someone that's got his eye on a first team spot.
I think so. I think most of them would be given a bit of a clean slate. I think that there's players that are signed up for long-term deals that will be involved in some way, shape or form. But Donny van der Beek, like you mentioned there, Pellistri, Pereira potentially, Amad Diallo, Bruno Fernandes. These guys are going to get a shot under Erik Ten Hag, even if it is just the first few games of pre-season, but definitely going to give him a shot to see what happens for next season.
Nice one. Right, let us know in the comments whether you think Donny van der Beek has got a chance of making it back in the squad. And also, is it his last chance? Because I know we're all big fans of him. I know he made the Ballon d'Or shortlist. I know that he's a player that could improve Manchester United on his day. But this will be his third season at Manchester United now. Let us know in the comments if you think this is basically his one more chance to prove he's good for Manchester United. If he can't do it under Ten Hag, I'm struggling to see how he can. Like I said, we all hope he can. Look at some of the stats, look at the way he plays. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you like the video as well and get your thoughts on Donny van der Beek in below. We'll see you in a bit.